Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Hi, we were talking about you, Joya. We prayed for you. Yeah. You still didn't have a baby, so maybe tonight. Maybe tonight. Amen. Have you brought your Bible with you?
Amen.
Hope you did for just a little bit. I promise I won't keep you tremendously long tonight. But I want to talk to you about what we're talking about Sunday, our attitudes and our blessings because of our attitudes. And I'm glad that you guys came to church tonight. And there's a lot of people tonight seem to be like they're sick and disgusted and tired. And hi, guys.
Late.
I'm glad you're here. Late. Oh, yeah. Amen. Just good to see everybody here. I'm glad that you guys are the healthy ones, and that's good. I was just in the back trying to determine what was going on with Matthew, and I just have no idea. But man, there's a bunch of kids back there.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of kids up the street. I picked up about 18 on a 15-passenger van. Y'all don't know that. But there's a bunch of kids here. And we have a responsibility to those children.
Amen.
And that responsibility is to teach them and train them about the things of God. And I have a responsibility to you, and that is to what? To motivate you, educate you, disciple you, and send you. That's our job here, and I'm going to say it over and over and over, and people are getting tired of me hearing me say it, but that's okay. I'm going to say it over and over and over. Because if I fail as pastor of this church, if I do not motivate you to do something, to live for God, if I stand here like I'm a 6-foot icicle and I bore you to tears, then I've not done my job. If I don't educate you and tell you how to live for the Lord, if I just tell you, now here's the deal, if I tell my children that are learning to drive, now you need to learn how to drive, but never showed them how to drive, then they're probably not going to know how to drive. And so the whole process, the whole point of church to me is to motivate you to live for the Lord, educate you on how to live for the Lord, disciple you in how to live for God. You know, and you get the precepts down. Listen, I just didn't show my children one time how to drive and say, okay, here's the keys. You show them, and then they see you, you show them some more, you show them some more, and you show them some more, and eventually they figure it out. They still scare you to death because they still can't drive. But but you have to, at some point you have to go, you know what? I've got to trust you enough to here are the keys. And you send them to the store. And if they get back from the store, then I might send you a little further. I'll send you to school. And I know just when I was 16, I thought, man, I could drive really well, and didn't nobody have to teach me anything how to drive. And that was so far from the truth. You think you know what you're doing, and you think you know you know where the foot, the gas pedal's at, the brake. But you don't know how to drive, and watch out for everybody else that's driving, and how to be a courteous driver, things like that. So it is my job as pastor is to not only to motivate you, hey, I want to drive. Everybody wants to drive when they're 16. Most people want to drive when they're 16. But not everybody wants to go through the process of learning how to drive and learning how to get their license and getting their license and then having to get a job to pay for their insurance and pay for their stuff like that. And so I just want to let you understand that I'm not here just to be the cheerleader and get you all excited and pull out the pom-poms, though some of y'all wish I would wear the skirt. I will not. And it's not my job to do that. It's my job to get you to be motivated about living for God, but it's my job also to give you education of what that means. What does it mean to live for God? Well, it means a lot of things. It means that to live for the Lord means that I shun the ways that I used to live. I live for Him and what His precepts are. I live in what God tells me to do. If God tells me I'll do this and bless you, then I better do that. He said if you do this, I'll curse you. I better not do that. I want to live in blessing. Thank you, Mark. Me and Mark are going to live in blessing. Y'all can do what y'all want to do. But I want to be blessed. I want God to bless us. I want God to bless this place and God to bless this church. But you can't be blessed if you don't know how to be blessed. If I tell you need to be blessed. Woo! I need to be blessed. How do I do that? Oh, I don't know. I just thought you needed to be blessed. Well, that doesn't help you at all. It doesn't help me at all to tell you you need to do something and not live it in front of you and show you how to do it. So I've got to show you how to be blessed. I've got to live my life how to be blessed. Not to be perfect, because I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. Never have claimed to be, and I never will be probably perfect. But here's the deal. I'll live when the Lord comes. Okay? That's when I'll be in my perfected body. And so, you guys, that's all the time it'll happen. So hear me for just a second. That we have got to be motivated, yes. And you ought to be motivated and be excited about coming to the house of God. It should not be a drudgery to go, oh man, it's church.
That's right.
Jeff's going to preach at me again. They're going to sing. No, it should not be a drudgery. It ought to be exciting to come to the house of God. And there ought to be something. Listen, I went to a service not too long ago, and man, I couldn't wait to get out of there. And I'm a pastor, a Christian, and I love God, but man, it was so awful. Oh, none of y'all have ever been to one. Y'all in one now. And so, but it was so just dead, awful, dry. And he was wasting his time. I was wasting my time. Everybody else, I shouldn't say that because everybody gets mad at me when I say, well, the Lord's word does not return void. I get that. I understand. And he preached a fine message, but the delivery of it was awful. I don't mean to be mean, but it's just, it was monotone and boring. It's like a book report. Chapter 1. God created the heavens and the earth. I know that sounds mean. I don't mean to be mean. That's why I'm not telling you who it was, because I'm not going to tell you who it was. But it was just dry. There was nothing there. There was no enthusiasm there, no passion there. There was nothing. Just words. Just words. There was no help from the congregation. They didn't want to be there anymore than he wanted to be there. And I thought, how in the world did I come here? I should have been somewhere else. I could have done something productive. And I'm not trying to cut anybody down or hurt anybody's feelings. But what I'm trying to say is this: if we're not passionate and motivated about what we're doing, nobody else is going to be passionate and motivated about what we're doing. We have a church have got to understand it. We have got to be motivated to go out and reach the lost of this city. We've got to be able to be motivated to go out and touch our families.
That's right.
Our families need God. I don't care how long they've been in church.
Amen.
We have a lot of family that think because they have been in church that's all they've got to do is be in church. I got a lot of kids on Wednesday night come here, and they come every Wednesday night, and they're faithful to come on Wednesday night. They come, and they listen to my wife teach, and man, they get it, and they understand, oh yeah, that's great. And then I hear them cussing and going on, just every time I see them. And it's just not clicking. And they live the church life on Wednesday night, but the rest of the time, it's just... And I understand, I was a teenager not that long ago. 30 years ago. And so, not that long ago. But I understand the pull and the drag of your friends and the world. I get it. I understand. But there comes a time when we have to decide, I'm living for God. Yes. Yep. I'm going to live for God. And we have to motivate each other to do that. I went to a funeral Saturday. And I talked to our deacons and elders about this Sunday morning. Is that I'm not pointing fingers or I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. But we had 6 people from this church here at the funeral. 6, maybe 7. 7. But some of those are family members. We should, as a church, they are our family. We should be there. We should be there to support them. I know not everybody could come. I'd expect 140 people to come to the funeral. I get that. But we are a family. We should be connected. in that way that when one of us hurts, we all hurt. Not depending on who the person is we hurt. Okay. All right. Now, it's getting quiet. I know I haven't read scripture yet. Just calm down. I will. Listen. It shouldn't matter who the person is or who the family is. It should matter that they're from our family. Is that any good? I'm not getting on to you. I mean, I understand people have lives and things happen, and I get it. But the funeral itself was on a Saturday at 2, not Monday at 1 in the afternoon when everybody's at work. Saturday at 2. I know that people had stuff going on. I get that. But as a family, we should have been there. That's just my heart. And listen, there's times I haven't been able to be at the funerals, and I get that, and I understand that everybody has something going. I get it. I'm not mad about it. I'm just trying to use that as a teaching point that the church itself has got to come together as a family. I think I said this Sunday, as we were going through the ministries that are in the church and what we have going on, is that my desire is that all those ministries click together to where they overlap one another, to where the people who are in charge of those ministries are getting support of people who are in the other ministries.
Yeah. Amen.
Hallelujah! Are y'all with me? Y'all awake tonight? Y'all good? I feel like the guy that I was talking about I wasn't trying to be hateful. I was trying to be nice. But hear me for just a second. We have a responsibility to each other to not only come to church with each other, but support each other and love each other. It doesn't matter who we are, what our last names are, how long you've been in this church. If you've been in this church 6 weeks or 6 years, doesn't matter. You've been in this church for 20 years or 30 years, whatever. That's great. And we love you and thank you for your longevity and your patience to be here. But listen, that person that comes in, we need to support them and love them. Just as though we love each other. When it's new people, we need to love them too. And listen, and Bill and James, you know what I'm talking about, right? Bill Gillespie's funeral. Okay. And so James isn't a new person. He's been here before, back and back again, and now he's back again. Okay, and so I just love them. They're just part of the family. Oscar was his daddy, Oscar and Phoebe. They've been in church here for a long time, and they're just part of the family, you know. And we love them. And so I'm not just saying that because it's there, but it doesn't matter who it is. We need to support them and love them and get a hold of this thing that we have a family outside of ours. And I know we're busy. Please don't look at me crew outside. I know. I've got 4 children and a wife. I get it. We're busy. But hear me. When we're able to do, we need to do. Okay? So I'll leave it at that. Can I just leave it at that? Yes. All right, good. I'm going to leave it at that. In 2 Samuel 6:14, I'll just read that just to make everybody feel comfortable. Because I read something. 2 Samuel 6:14. If you're in the New Testament, you've gone too far. So that's your first Samuel. Amen. You got a real time?
What was the verse?
6:14. 2 Samuel 6:14. Sorry. All right, thank you. And David danced before the Lord with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod. Here it is. David has just come back into Jerusalem. He's dancing before the Lord. He is having a good time. He is worshiping God for God has given him this great victory. He is excited about what God's done. He is dancing. He is shouting. He is making a fool of himself. And he doesn't even care. He's just having a good time. And he's dancing. And so much so that his clothes are hanging off of him. And he doesn't even care. And his wife looks and says, man, look at the king. Look at this mighty man of God. And she hated him because of his dancing. Keep reading, you'll find it. She hated him. And Michal hated him because of his dancing. And I love David's response. David said, I've not yet begun to defile myself, woman. You think I'm dancing now? You think this is bad? You wait and see what's going to come out of me. And so here for just a second, what I want to get across to you is this. Instead of Michal supporting her husband and saying, I'm going to go join in the dancing and I'm going to celebrate with my husband, I'm going to worship God, she got mad because David was dancing. She got mad because David was defiling himself, she thought, in front of all the little people because he was the king. And he shouldn't be doing that and acting like that. And so instead of having an attitude of, this is what drives me crazy. Instead of having an attitude of, I'm going to bless them, I'm going to be part of that, I'm going to get involved in what God's doing, her attitude was this: I'll not serve God that way. Woo! Let's quiet this place. Instead of joining in on the celebration of what God's doing, instead of getting involved in the worship, instead of just being part of what her husband was being part of, her husband was worshiping God with all of his might, and he danced with all of his might. And she got mad because he had the audacity to dance before the Lord in front of those people. And so, for my question is to you, when we are at church and somebody is having something great happen in their life, we should be part of the celebration. This is what's going on. Hey, we love you, and we're going to celebrate this in the name of Jesus. But when something bad is happening, the reverse should be as well. We should mourn with them. Let them know they are loved. Let them know that they are needed and they're loved and they're special and they count and they matter. Because when something bad's going on in their life, what happens is this: the devil comes to them and says, you're not worth anything. You're not good enough for anybody. Nobody even loves you. Look, even that church doesn't have anything to do with you. Because they're already down enough. And the devil knows if he can get them all the way down, he can kill them. So the trick is this: people think the devil wants you sick. He wants you dead. He doesn't want you sick. He wants you to die. He doesn't care about anything else but other than you dying and your life being snuffed out and your soul going to hell. That's what he cares about. He doesn't care about anything else but other than destroying you. That's what he cares about. So hear me just a second. Whenever David was dancing before the Lord with all his might, she was mad about it and pointing fingers and finding fault with her husband. So who was one that was really in the wrong? Michal was. Because instead of... Did you find him? Thank you. So instead of being part of the worship, I like to see Sister Heike during worship. She gets involved in worship, and Kim, and I'm going to start naming names, so you're going to get mad at me. But they get involved in the worship. It's not like they're watching the concert. They're involved with worship. And that's not just them. I'm just using them as an example. Please don't get mad at me. Just using them as an example. They get involved in the worship. They raise their hands. And it's not about us and not about our playing. It's not anything to do with that. It's about, I'm going to worship God, and I'm going to let them lead me into the throne room of God, and I'm going to worship. A church is at its best when it's worshiping and serving. When it's serving, it's worship. Listen, when it's serving God that it's worshiping, I'm telling you, the church is at its best when a group of people begins to go, I'm going to worship God, I don't care what anybody else does. I'm going to worship Him. I don't care if I'm in the back row or the front row. I'm going to worship Him. I don't care if 15 people are trying to talk to me in the name of Jesus. Shut their mouth, God. Give them lockjaw for the next hour and a half. But God, in the name of Jesus, I am going to worship God. I'm going to praise Him, and we ought to get involved with praise. Amen. This is the temple of praise. There's a reason it was named that. Because back in the day, we wouldn't have been done with praise and worship yet. True? Is it the length of it that matters? No. The people were worshiping God, so we didn't quit. It wasn't the fact that we had a set list of 15 songs we had to do. We had to go, what are we going to do next? I don't know. We just had to keep finding songs to sing because people were worshiping the Lord. And they didn't want us to stop because they were worshiping, tears running down their face and arms in the air. And they were standing on their feet, and those that could. And there's some that they can't stand that long, and we get that. We understand that. But listen, when David was dancing with all his might, all Michael could do was find fault. Listen, I know I've been in church a long time, okay? I haven't always been in church, but I've been in church for over 40 years, so I know what I'm talking about here, okay? Listen to me. There are those that are worshiping, and there are those that are saying, why are they doing that? Can I get a witness from somebody that's been in church longer than a day? Why? Who do they think they are? I wish they'd sit down. They're driving me crazy. I know I'm preaching right. Now, I'm not getting a bunch of amens, but I know I'm preaching right. Oh, she always does that. Why does he do that all the time? He's the pastor. Why is he up there jumping around his arms in the air? He shouldn't do that. I'm going to. So y'all might as well just get used to it. I'm going to worship. I'm a worshiper. I believe in worshiping the God who saved me from myself. I just believe, I believe that he ought to have some thanks every time I walk in the building, that I'm able to walk in the building. And I just think he ought to have some praise for what he's done in my life. I just think that God ought to have some praise for every blessing he's poured out on my life. I just think I ought to have an attitude of praise all the time. And I'm sorry if you don't have that attitude, and I'm sorry if that messes with people's lives, and I'm sorry if that messes up their church service or whatever, but I'm going to stand at the piano and I'm going to hop and I'm going to wave my hands and it's not about that. Please understand that. It's not, if you don't worship like that, then I don't care. But don't get mad at me. Because I dance before the Lord with all my might and my ephah shows. I'll zip it. Okay. And so, just don't get mad at me. Listen, many look at David as just David. He had to prove himself as a king. Because David was just Jesse's boy. A little kid down the street. But when he killed the Goliath, see, look, most people think that rock killed Goliath, but it wasn't the rock that killed Goliath. When he hit Goliath in the middle of the forehead with the rock, Goliath still wasn't dead. David had to go slay him himself. David had to use a sword and cut his head off. Or else Goliath would have got up and been real mad. It was David that had to prove himself. He had to prove himself as king. He had to prove himself worthy. And nobody understood who he was until after the sling went. And then he didn't go, should I go or should I not go? He ran to the giant, took the giant's own sword, cut his head off with his own sword, and he showed everybody who he was. Now, Michael, she didn't sure care about that. But she cared about how he worshiped the Lord. I'll try to go on. Here we go. Ephesians 4:27. Ephesians 4:27. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 27 says, neither give place to the devil. Tommy, can we go to verse 24, please? And we'll go 24, 25, 26. Thank you. And that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lying, speaking every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Here's the last one. Neither give place to the devil. Now listen to me for just a few more minutes and I'll get you out of here. Go back to verse 24, Brother Tommy, please. We have to put on a new man. I'm going to be preaching for the next several weeks on attitude and changing the way we think about ourselves. I've told you, I think it was Sunday night, I don't know what it is about Pentecostals that they think that they're less than. it drives me crazy. I don't know if it's because of generations before had such a struggle, and it was the theology of poor makes you holy, and if you don't, and it was really strange, but I don't know exactly what it was and when it started and how it started. The Pentecostals thought that we were less than the Methodists or the Presbyterians or the Baptists or the whatevers. I don't know when it started, but all I know is God's beginning to deal with me on the attitude of the church and getting this attitude different. Not that you have a bad attitude, that's not what it is. Changing your attitude about who you are, about what God is, about who God is, about what God's doing in your life, who He's going to bless and who He's not going to bless, and changing those things around. But you have to put on the new man, which is after God, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. True holiness is not your sleeve length. You mean I can wear short sleeves and be holy? Here you can. I don't know about another Pentecostal church, but here you can. You mean I don't have to wear a skirt everywhere I go? No. Heard Jesse DuPlante say this one time, and it stuck in my head. He said that he used to love to go swimming with the Pentecostal girls. Because what does the skirt do when it gets in the water? He said it praises the Lord. So that's what he said. And so he said he used to love it when he was a little kid. There's some places a skirt is not appropriate. Amen? We don't need you on a ladder changing light bulbs and skirts. Can I get a witness? Amen? I just let you know. So, can you be holy and not wear a skirt everywhere? You can here. I don't know about every other Pentecostal church. Do you mean I don't have to have my hair or it's high and tight? No. I don't care. I don't think God gives two flips about the length of your hair. I don't really think God cares. I don't think He cares about the length of your sleeve or, I say dress appropriately. I'm not a clothesline preacher, but I am a preacher saying I think you ought to dress appropriately. I mean, dress right. I don't think you ought to, wear a suit to go play basketball in. Dress right. Dress what you're supposed to do. You know what right is, and if you don't know what right is, that's why we have the people at the church, the elders of the church say, baby, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you need to cover that up. Not go, you can't come in here with that. That's what most elders think they can do. You're not coming in here with that. And somebody doesn't even know they're not supposed to wear that. And they destroy people. And they should love them and teach them because we're supposed to educate and disciple. We're not supposed to beat and destroy. Educate and disciple somebody. Instead of saying, just say, hey baby, I'm just letting you know, you can't wear that here. Because you got your stuff that needs to be covered up. Okay? And so there's nothing wrong with that. And nobody's going to get offended. If they do, at least you've gone to them with love and not with a finger pointed in their face. And say, listen, we have to educate and disciple people. We can't just beat people over the head and not let people understand that what God is doing is in their life is depends on their sleeve length. I'm probably kicked out of a lot of Pentecostal churches right now because I'm not wearing a suit and I'm preaching the Word. So a lot of them get mad about that. My state youth director was told in a section of our state of Oklahoma that the reason people didn't come to youth rallies because he didn't wear a suit to preach. And I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, no. He said, and the people that told me weren't wearing suits either. But I guess because I was preaching, I had to wear a suit. I thought, whatever. How do we get hung up on that stuff? Who said you had to wear a suit to preach? I told him he should have showed up with a robe. And just, a fake beard, long hair. I just show up like that one time, see what they do. Anyway, I just thought it was nuts. Okay, anyway, let's just go on and I'll get you at it. The devil is the accuser of the brethren. Oh, sorry, we were on 25. Sorry, go 25. I like that thing, right? Wherefore putting away lying. I love you. Can't stand that. Put away lying. I didn't say walk up to them and say you can't stand them. But pray until you can stand them, amen? Get something right. Speak every man truth with his neighbor. For we are the members one of another. Listen, church, you may not like it, but you need the people sitting around you. You may not like them. You may not get along with them. You may be hurt at them. You may not even know them. Whatever, but you need each other. And y'all need me whether you like that or not. And so, for whatever reason, you have to listen, we are members one of another. We are the body of Christ. We're part of it. Whether we're the eye, the foot, the nose, the mouth, or whatever. We are part of the body of Christ. And we've got to get something right. And we've got to stop lying to each other. And start speaking truth to each other. But when I say that, I'm in a danger zone because people take that to say they can hurt people's feelings. And that's not what we're here to do. I'm not here to point out every fault you have and flaw that I've been making a list of for the last 10 years. Because I'm going to tell you the truth, sister. No, you're not. You're being a jerk. That's what you're being. You're being someone who's just not. Can you say jerk? I don't know. You're being hateful. You're being somebody that nobody wants to be around. I know you think you're holy because your bun's high. I know you got it. I get it. But hear me. When you talk to people like that, do you think that Jesus walked around telling people and accusing people of everything all the time? No, he didn't. Jesus hung out with Republicans and sinners. Republicans and sinners. Sorry, it came out wrong. But I'm just teasing. Okay? But he came out with that, okay? That's who he hung out with. And so he hung out with all those people, and he didn't say, you're sorry, you're sorry, you're sorry, you're sorry, you're sorry. What did he say? Repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. He said, you church people, y'all aren't going to heaven. These people are going before you get there. Because they talk about the tax collectors and the sinners. And the prostitutes and the lowest of the low. Anyway, I didn't mean to get hung up on that. Verse 26. Verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Here is something that just people like to take out of context. Go back to verse 25 for one time. We are members one of another. Go next. Be angry and sin not. Are you always going to get along with everybody? No. You're not always going to get along with me. As sweet as I am. No, I always get along with me. But don't sin against me, and I won't sin against you, and ridicule me and tear down everything we're trying to do because you got mad about something I did.
That's right.
Don't tear down your neighbor. Don't tear down Janet. Don't tear down Sister Juanita because you didn't agree with something that they did. Big deal. Is it something that's going to cause them to go to hell? No, I just didn't like it. So what? Did they ask your permission? Juanita, are you grown? Okay, so you can pretty much do what you want to do, right? You don't have to ask man's permission to do something. You can just go do what you want to do, right? Did you ask if he was all right if you go to Louisiana? I'm mad now. Okay. You don't have to ask permission to go. You can go if you want to. You can go to Arkansas tomorrow if you want to. You can get in the car and go. Don't have to ask anybody. But so why is it that we get upset over something stupid that doesn't matter a hill of beans? It doesn't really matter because we are angry because we didn't like the way they drove. They should have went this way instead of that way. Well, who cares? It doesn't matter. Who really cares about some trivial minor things that don't really matter a hill of beans? What happens is this, is that church people get so close and there's such a little bubble and cocoon, they get involved in everybody's business. Thank you, Sister Curtis. They get in everybody's business. Listen, I have enough trouble dealing with my own business. I don't need to micromanage yours. Listen, we need to go to the scripture. I didn't write it down. You guys can find it. Where it says that you work out your own salvation with the Lord. Yes, I'm going to, as pastor, tell you, quit doing that. Because you're going to die in that. But other than that, I'm not going to be on you and say, did you read 15 minutes today? Did you pray 16 minutes today? Did you pray for all these things? That's not for me to do. That's for you to work out.
That's right.
When your prayer time is up to you. If you have a prayer time, it's up to you. If you read, if you don't read, that's up to you. All I can do is tell you that you need to study to show yourself approved, that you not be ashamed. All I can tell you is that you need to pray, because with prayer comes power. I just need to share this with you and I'll quit. God Himself, He says, I'm not going to tell you when to pray. God Himself said, I'm not going to tell you when to pray. I'm going to tell you that you need to pray. I'm going to tell you that you need to read, but He didn't say, I'm going to tell you when to read. He said, listen, it's up to you, baby. How do you want to work it out? It's up to you. Whether you want to read or not, it's up to you. Whether you want to pray or not, it's up to you. And listen, whether you want to be blessed or not, up to you. Amen. Not me. I'm going to preach to you how to be blessed. I'm going to show you and I'm going to live it before you, what God is doing and how God is blessing us. I said things Sunday about our pivot point for my wife and I. The pivot point for us was our $2 gift, our $2 missionary gift to Bolivia. That was the pivot point in our life where our financial situation turned around. Is that $2 a month for 2 years. And when we met that need, when we met that, not need, but that obligation, when it was over with, it was $24 a year. $48 total. Bolivia could do without $48. But I couldn't do without giving it. Because at that time, when that happened, God said, whoop, and turned our whole situation around. I gave more than $48 last week in missions. Yeah, I'm just telling you. Not because I'm Mr. Wonderful, because I'm not. But I'm just trying to let you know what God will do for you. If you will do for God. Are y'all hearing me? Really? Do you understand what I'm telling you? So many people don't get this, and then they struggle and they get mad at God and say, well, it's for somebody else. But I am not any better than anybody else, but I'm just as good as everybody. And I'm telling you, if God will do it for Sister Phyllis, and this Sister Phyllis, and do it for Matt, He'll do it for me. He will bless me. Thank you, Janet. I'm going to get this in our little noggins. I'm telling you. I'm going to get this in our little heads that God will bless you if you bless God. Amen. And it doesn't just mean about your stupid little green slips of paper either. It doesn't mean that either. It means your time, your effort, everything that you do, your lifestyle. Oh, I got to go on. Verse 26 says, be ye angry and sin not. Don't talk about me just because you're mad at me. Don't run me down just because you're upset with me. Don't get angry with your wife and just run her down and treat her like trash. Wives, don't treat your husbands like trash. Don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. Let's go verse 27. I'll quit. Neither give place to the devil. Don't give place to the devil. What does that mean? That means don't open the door and let Him in your life. Don't allow Him access to your family. Don't allow Him access to your soul. Don't allow Him access to anything you have. Because everything that you allow Him access to, He will try to dominate and take. That's right. Don't you think that the devil ever is just going to take a little bitty piece of something and leave. He wants the whole thing. And he's going to not quit working until you slam the door shut and rebuke him in the name of Jesus and get away from him. Don't give place to the devil in your life. Well, I would be blessed, but get the buts out. Yep. That's right. I am blessed. Why? Because God said if I will do these things, He will do these things. Yep. Because God said if I do these things, He will curse me in this area. So I choose not to do these things because I choose not to be cursed by God. Not the devil. I know I'm talking to somebody. Listen, the problem that I've found in this 20 plus years of ministry is that most people will try it for a little while and it doesn't work overnight, so they get tired, they quit working, they quit doing what God said do, and they go back and revert to their old ways, and then they're in the worse condition than they were in before, and they blame God. If I had to pay that tithe, I'd have this amount of money. That's good preaching, Brother Jeff. I don't care who you are. I'm a tither. On every dime I make, I'm a tither. If I get a dime, you're getting a penny of it. It doesn't matter. I'm a tither. I'm a giver. God's a blesser. I'm a tither and a giver for a reason, because I had a pastor that taught me how to give. And I had a mom and dad taught me how to give. I have a wife that knows how to give. We give. Listen, I know it's upside down and crazy, because in this world it's get all I can get. Give me. But in God's world, it is give it, and it never stops coming to give. But it's just hard to understand that. And our physical minds, I get it. It's hard to wrap your mind that, no, that's not how it happens, Jeff. It's not going to happen that way. It does happen that way. I'm a living testimony. It does happen that way. God has blessed us and God has given us. But I try not to give the devil any place. Because the first place he attacks is in your finances.
That's right.
Why? Because whether you like it or whether you don't like it, Jesus talked more about money than he did hell. What? Because it's your life's blood on this planet. Listen, how many can go to the store and just take something and say, well, I don't have any money, but I'll just take it? Nobody. How many are going to let you build a house though you have no money? Nobody. You going to drive a car without any money? No. You going to have a phone? No. You have electricity? No. Gas? No. Water? No. Nothing. Because it all costs something. But God is a blesser, and God knows what you need and what you have need of. And God does bless you. And God does elevate you. I get it. But hear me, the devil will attack you in your financial situation because he knows he will hit you the hardest.
Yep. That's right.
Because if he knows that he can cut that off, then what happens is this. Then you start praying. And all of a sudden the money angels don't show up. And then you start doubting God. And then you fight with your wife. And then the children are on your nerves. And then you'd be better off if you just go ahead and commit suicide because you got all that money on your life insurance. So why don't you just go ahead and take your life? Then all of a sudden, now you're in trouble. Now you're depressed, you're down, you can't get up, you don't know where the right way is, the wrong way is, you don't know anywhere, all you need to do is just barely even see the bottom of the bottom, and now you're just in a desperate situation, and the devil started it by you allowing him to be in your financial situation.
That's right.
I know I'm talking to somebody, I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm talking to somebody. Because that's not what's on this paper. I just want to help you. If you will do what God says do, and I'm going to start teaching on what God says do. I'm not doing it tonight, so y'all calm down. Okay? But I'm going to start teaching on what God says do to be blessed. Not just in your little green slips of paper, but in your life. You ever wonder why it is that somebody's always at the right place at the right time? You ever wonder? Why are they at the right place at the right time? God, it always happens to them. Because they are blesser. They bless God and God blesses them. But Brother Jeff, but they just always seem to have good luck. It's not luck.
That's right.
Amen.
It's favor. It's favor. Well, I thought God wouldn't respect your person. He's not. He'll do it for you too.
That's right.
He'll give you favor just like he'll give Sister Juanita favor. Jim and Juanita are blessed. You know what? They're not the only ones in the place that are blessed.
That's right.
Because if God will bless them, he'll bless me. If he'll bless me, he'll bless them. He's not a respecter of person. But he is a God that says, if you will give me what I ask, I got to shut up because I promised you I would. But here's how people think of it. That God needs my little green slips of paper. I wish I had some more. I think I have any ones. I got one. Anyway. People look at it as, oh, the church just wants my little green slips of paper. And that's not what it is.
Right.
I agreed to work for who I work for this amount of money.
Yep.
So let's use Jim. So for $1,000 a day, Jim's agreed to work for $1,000 a day. Okay. So he's giving 8 hours of his life for $1,000. And so then it comes to the end of the week and he's got to be a tither and he's got $7,000 in his pocket. He agreed to work for $1,000 a day and he gave 40 hours, let's say $5,000. So he's getting 40 hours and he's got $5,000 in his pocket. All he's doing when he gives the 500 for the tithe, all he's doing is saying, God, I'm giving you back the life that I gave this world. I want you to bless what I gave the world. And so now it's blessed instead of cursed. So all he's doing is taking, does that make any sense? So the $5,000 that he made, I wish I had $5,000 I'd lay here. Out of the $5,000, he's giving God $500. And then he's also giving offerings, so he's giving God more than $500, but you have to give offerings to. And so he's got the $500, so he has $4,500 that's blessed instead of $5,000 cursed. Because he gave it back. I've traded this much for my life, I'm giving it back to you, God. That's all it is. It's not the amount. It is the giving back of the love of God. Trusting him. Placing it in his hands. Saying, God, you know how better to handle this than I do. Just give us more than enough. Just give us more than enough. Would you bow your head with me, please? If you're in this place today and you don't know Jesus, I never like to give up. I never like to quit a service without giving you an opportunity. If you're in this house and you don't know him, everything I spoke to you about today doesn't mean anything. You must know Jesus. You must know him. Janet, you can play something. Let's continue to pray.